Welcome to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. My name is Teresa McLennan, Executive Director of the Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie. We are so glad that you're here with us today. As you know, the focus of our show is to talk about the lives and experiences of women. We talk about gender-based violence, human trafficking. We talk about women in leadership. We talk about gender equity, politics, all with a focus on impacts for and with women. So thank you so much for being with us today. Today we're going to be talking about perhaps a sensitive topic, and we do want to caution our viewers. If at any time you feel that this is triggering or too difficult to listen to, please take a step away. We want you to be well, and we understand completely. Before we begin, we do want to thank our Indigenous community. Thank you for allowing us to have these conversations on these lands. We thank you. So I am really looking forward to my conversation with my wonderful guest today. We're going to learn more about Huronia Transition Homes and the great work that they do. And we're going to talk about a specific event that is coming up on May the 4th. And so we really hope that once you learn about that, our wonderful community, that you will come out and to participate and to use your voice. And we're going to learn more about that. So welcome to my wonderful guest, Amanda Wagner. Amanda, welcome. It's so nice to talk with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Super. So in terms of your role at Huronia Transition Home and Athenas, let's say, can you talk to our viewers about your role and the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the Community Development Coordinator at Huronia Transition Homes. So HTH, as I'll probably call it from here on out, just for time's sake, that is our whole organization. I am usually based out of Athenas Sexual Assault Center here in Barrie. We are an equity-seeking organization working to end all forms of gender-based violence. So my role specifically is about kind of being a connecting point between us and the community in terms of the work that we're doing. So I focus on managing our social media, helping with public education workshops that I deliver in schools, in businesses, and different organizations around Simcoe County. And I also do event planning like Take Back the Night, which is happening on May 4th, again, in person this year. So that's kind of a general overview of what my role is within this organization.
Okay, and for folks who may not be familiar with Huronia Transition Homes as the large umbrella organization, can you talk to us about the different services and programs that HTH offers?
For sure. So I think it's important to first sort of understand where we come from as an organization in terms of the pillars that we stand on to figure out, okay, how do these very different programs sort of fit into this one umbrella? So the two main pillars of our work, the first one being that we come from an intersectional feminist perspective. So intersectionality was, of course, coined in 1989 by Kimberly Crenshaw. And what that word means is that it discusses how everybody will experience life and more specifically experience oppression differently based on their social location. So if we think of ourselves in the center of our lives, the branches of our identity around us, whether it be our race, our age, our socioeconomic status, our immigration status, all of those things influence how we experience life and how we go through life differently than the next person. And so intersectional feminism is about understanding that not everybody is starting from the same place. And therefore, to be equity seeking, we need to make sure that we're not giving everybody the same supports, because not everybody needs the same supports. They need to be individualized for everybody's lived experiences. The other pillar that we stand on and where these programs are founded in is a harm reduction philosophy. So the baseline of harm reduction is about meeting people where they're at and then ultimately reducing barriers to supports. So this could look like providing safe use supplies for safe substance use and making sure that folks have clean supplies. It can also increase in scale to look like advocating for a safe consumption site in our community or advocating for the decriminalization of sex work. All of these things are a part of harm reduction, because harm reduction can exist on an individual and interpersonal level, but also on a societal level, because the harms transcend just one individual experience and are in fact evident in our society on every level. So with those two pillars in mind, we have the different programs under our umbrella. So of course, there's Athenas Sexual Assault Center here in Barrie. We provide free self-referred counseling services to women identifying individuals aged 16 and over. And they are able to access our services in person, over Zoom, over the phone, and anyone in Simcoe County, any woman identifying individual in Simcoe County is able to access our services. We also have Choices for Children, which is a psychoeducational program for children and their mothers who've been exposed to violence. So this program will discuss things like what is anger, what are boundaries, things like that. Then we have Rosewood Shelter, which is up in Midland. And this shelter is an emergency shelter for women, children, and gender diverse people who are escaping violence or homelessness. And then in line with that, we also have Aquarius House, which is our longer term residential program. And so women can stay up to a year in that program while they're trying to access housing. And that is for anybody who has experienced and or is at risk of experiencing human trafficking. Then we have Operation Grow, which is our social enterprise also up in Midland. And this is an indoor vertical farm where women in our service can actually work and gain employability skills to put on their resume. They can take free cooking classes, yoga classes, they can do different workshops that we offer there. And there's actually a public storefront that anybody can go into. And you can purchase any of the greens that we grow there. You can purchase the soups, the dressings, all the things that are made in the kitchen. And we did just get some new kale brownies in, which are phenomenal. So I do highly recommend anybody check it out if they could.
Yeah, and I've had the pleasure of coming up to HTH and Operation Grow and purchased, some wonderful greens, and they were absolutely fantastic. So for our viewers, if you ever get a chance to go to the storefront and to support this great agency as well, please think about supporting Operation Grow and meet your nutritional needs. It's a great social enterprise. So we're going to kind of lead into talking about the event that's happening on May the 4th. But I think it's always helpful for our community to understand. We always want to try to provide an opportunity of education. Mm-hmm. In terms of Athena's Sexual Assault Counseling and Advocacy Center, let's be really clear for our community what constitutes or the mandate for anyone to be able to use your services in terms of defining sexual assault.
So this is a little bit of a layered question in the sense that Athena specifically has different programs that we can use to support folks. So we are open to all women identifying individuals, like I said, in Simcoe County, as long as they are 16 years and over. That being said, we do have an intimate partner violence program as well. So one does not have to have had experienced sexual abuse per se to access our services. Definitely, if you're ever not sure, I would just recommend giving us a call to kind of figure out if this is a service that would work for you, if it wouldn't work for you. So we do have that. We have that option for folks who have experienced sexual abuse, whether it be recently or well into their childhood, and now they're kind of coming to terms with it now, or somebody who has experienced intimate partner violence, but not necessarily sexual abuse. So our services are open and accessible for sure for folks who fall under that.
So what are the specific ways that you offer service specifically with Athenas?
So we offer services online or over Zoom, over the phone, and in person. They are individual counseling sessions. So everything is free and self-referred, and people can just give us a call to come into service. You don't have to worry about anything there. We also have the 24-hour crisis line that anybody can call at any point in time for information, for support. And we have the psychoeducational support groups. So when women are in our service, they're actually able to access these groups as well. And so we have a group on trauma and how trauma affects the brain. We also have a group on life skills and coping strategies and things like that. And we have a yoga class. So there are lots of different avenues that folks can take to actually to receive the services that are going to work best for them.
And I'm curious, maybe related to COVID or maybe not, but have you seen an increase in the amount of folks who are coming to access your services at Athenas?
So we service about 500 women annually. That being said, we don't have a way to actually see if that number has increased or not because we're always at capacity in terms of having or triaging a wait list for services. So unfortunately, I just can't reflect on that.
No, I understand completely. And in terms of the stories and the experiences of women, is there any correlation in terms of, was it any different in terms of the COVID experience for women?
So we actually, I saw a lot of this when I was planning our December 6th vigil up in Midland in December. COVID had a huge influence on facilitating an environment where violence can thrive, as I'm sure you guys have seen as well. The thing is because people were forced to stay at home, if home's not a safe space, then suddenly that's putting women, gender diverse people, children, whoever at increased risk of experiencing violence. It has cut people off from their support networks, whether that be peer supports or in the community. It accelerated levels of poverty and accelerated the housing crisis. So we really do see that violence was able to thrive in that kind of environment because women weren't able to access the supports that they would normally have pre-COVID. And now we're sort of, as a society, as a country, we're in this recovery period almost of trying to amend that. But it has definitely changed the environment in which we are living in and working in for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And we definitely have seen that here in our shelter as well. The intensity of the calls to our crisis line uh, really did seem to take on more, like we were hearing women say, he's going to kill me. And when you already had a tenuous situation between partners, and then you tell them to isolate at home together, and you cannot access services, you cannot go to the mall, just to get away from each other. Folks were not working and needing to be at home all the time. The intensity, like I say, of those calls just really, really increased for us as well, right? And I think how you're describing the philosophy and the nature behind how you offer your services is really key, because I think anyone who's listening right now will take great value in knowing the perspective, the feminist perspective and analysis to how you provide supports. And I think that that's really important. So, and so that we're clear for our community in terms of reaching out to in look at services offered through Athena's, what phone number, how do folks get in touch with you?
I would say the best way is to give us a call. We have our admin line is 705-737 to that, sorry, 705-737-2008 is our crisis line. So that is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it is, you can always call it to just ask for information and that kind of thing, but it is also a line that's used for support and just a conversation if that's what's needed. The admin line is 705-737-2884. And so you can always call that line too. And that's usually used for just like information purposes. But again, call whichever number you remember. You can also go to our website and there is a text support number too. So if that works better for you, you can definitely text us also.
Perfect. That's perfect. So we are going to take a very short commercial break, and we just really encourage our viewers to stay with us. We're going to dive into some great more conversations with Amanda. So please stay with us, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. We're so glad that you're with us today watching our show. We're having a great conversation with Amanda Wagner from Huronia Transition Homes, and we're going to be talking about an event that's happening for them on May the 4th. Before then, though, we have been talking about the nature of sexual assault. We've been talking about how Athenas and Huronia Transition Homes, how they provide their services and their philosophy of support. In terms of educating our community, Amanda, we like to think that we've made progress in terms of gender-based violence, including sexual assault, but I feel like we still have a very long way to go. Why do you think that sexual assault in particular of women continues to happen?
So there are a few different pieces to this. First, I think it's important to understand a little bit of the context. So when we talk about abuse, abuse is the attempt to control someone using fear, intimidation, and or violence, right? So when we talk about sexual abuse specifically, that is any act that is unwanted, that violates somebody's sexuality or bodily integrity. And more specifically, sexual abuse, sexual assault, it can be, and trigger warning for anybody watching, it can be rape, it can be groping, but it doesn't have to be touching. It can also be forcing somebody to watch porn or sharing somebody's nude photos online. Those are all examples of sexual abuse or sexual assault or sexual violence, however we want to name it. Sexual assault specifically is anything that just happens without consent. So consent, and this is just a little piece from the workshops that I do, but we talk about a Ferris model of consent, like a Ferris wheel. So if you think of just that word, you'll know the acronym, but consent must be freely given, it must be engaged, repeated, reversible, informed, and specific. And if it's not those things, if consent is absent, then we have sexual assault and sexual abuse. So one of the questions that a lot of people do like to ask is, okay, well, how do we stop it? Exactly what you're asking, like, why is it going on? Sexual assault is a byproduct of a society that has allowed violence to thrive. And if anybody has been following us along on social media right now, we've been talking about rape culture and how our patriarchal society has facilitated rape culture. And rape culture is a byproduct of a violent society. It is a form of violence. And so when we talk about ending sexual abuse and why it continues because we have so many isms in our society. We have so many forms of systemic oppression. So sexual violence ends when racism ends, when ableism ends, when xenophobia ends, classism, colonialism, when all of these things, when we work to build a society that is quite literally the opposite of those things, that is the only time that sexual violence will end. Because again, it is a byproduct of a violent society, and that is why it's continuing. And yeah, so there are many different layers to it, but at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And that's why all of these things are always interconnected. And that's why we always need to be actively working towards ending those things, actively working to be anti-racist, actively working to be anti-colonialism. Like all of these things are very much connected to this issue. None of it is individual or isolated.
So I think that is a really good lead into the importance of the community knowing and being educated about that. And one of the ways is to have public participation, displays, public awareness campaigns, so to speak, to help the community to understand, which leads me to the event that is happening for you on May the 4th, Take Back the Night. So talk to us about that very important community awareness event, where it is, why is this important for our community to know about and to be on side with?
Mm-hmm. So Take Back the Night is a protest, march, and rally against sexual assault and gender-based violence. It is the oldest international movement against sexual violence that we have, and it's coming back to Barrie now after a couple of years of being online because of COVID. So we're excited to be back in person. Honestly, the strength of the movement itself comes from women, children, gender diverse people being able to walk together at night in safety and unison together for what could be the first time in their lives. but it is them walking without fear and celebrating their diversity and their visibility. And that's what makes the movement so powerful, because we do all come together and we do all like demand change. It is a loud event. It is a protest at the end of the day. And so while it is a celebration, it's also a reminder that we are demanding a world where all of these folks can have control over their own minds and bodies and selves. So community participation, really, it is the flame that keeps burning with this event, right? Like if we have community members showing up, there's this an incredible space for them to learn about this issue, to learn about the different branches of this issue, how different organizations approach all of the things that we talked about in terms of working towards a more equitable society. It is a space to learn and a space to celebrate. And it's a phenomenal event. So community participation is like the thing that we always aim for. And if anybody wants to come, it is happening on May 4th and will be happening at 6 p.m. at the Barrie Rotunda. So the rally will start then, and that's the space where you can learn from other organizations. You can learn from the speakers that we have. There will be some food there, so you can eat, you can fresh up, and you can make posters, buttons, whatever you want to do. And then after the rally, then we take to the streets and we march and we demand and we are loud, because the violence will end, as we said, when all of these other things end. And the only way that we do that is together.
And and even the name of the event, I have always really appreciated, Take Back the Night. And our viewers know that they have heard me say this many times, but my experience as a woman and how I have to navigate the world is so completely different than how a man does. When I'm thinking about walking through the streets in my own community or downtown Barrie at 2 o'clock in the morning, the things that I need to think about and consider are completely different, most likely, than a man does. My worries and concerns for my own safety are at the forefront of my mind. And I love Take Back the Night because we should, as women, be comfortable, safe to walk through our own communities at any time that we please without fear. And so, again, our viewers have heard me say that many, many times, but how women have needed to navigate in the world in terms of employment, safety, their communities, relationships, leadership is so very different. And I think that having an event like this is so important to raise awareness, right, about just the plight and the issues that as women that we face and that we carry. And so with that being said as well, I know that you encourage everyone in the community to come out and walk and to use their voice at that march and rally. Why is it important to support women in particular to have a voice and to use their voice?
So the thing is that women have all, like, I believe I'm quoting somebody else almost here, but women have always had a voice, right? Like that's never been the problem. Is that the problem has been that society hasn't listened to it. And so an event like this allows us to come together, allows us all to be together to demand loudly and proudly that we need our rights back, that we need to be able to walk the streets at night, like you're saying, that gender diverse people deserve to walk the streets at night. They deserve to have visibility and be celebrated in their diversity. All of these issues, like all these people that have been affected by this event and are affected by the patriarchy and the violence that we see in our society, we've always been here. But an event like this is about putting us at the forefront. It's about putting us out there so that the whole community can see that we're here and we're not going away and we are demanding change, because we can't just be quiet. We can't be silent in the face of violence, right? Like we can't just allow anybody to just kind of like stand back. And that's why it's so important too, like when you talk about going out and supporting other community organizations, like that is how you also affect change, right? Like by having conversations with people, by being very visible, by supporting equity seeking organizations like us or Uplift Black or the Barrie Native Friendship Center. like that is how we create change, and we do that by having conversations and being out in the open and uplifting voices. So yeah.
And before, I mean, our time is almost up, but I also want to give you an opportunity, because as nonprofit sister organizations, we understand the need for fundraising to be able to offer our services, right? And I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of put a call out to the community about how can the community support you in terms of your fundraising needs and all of the wonderful services that you offer.
Thank you. To be honest, I think the best way is to go onto the website, and there is a form where it will give you the email to which connects you to the person who can better answer that question. It's a little bit beyond my awareness, but absolutely, you can feel free, like check out our website and the email will be there, or on our Facebook page. I think it's there too.
Right. And I can just speak, from the shelter system, that we have been grossly underfunded for years and years, and to be able to meet the growing, unique, diverse needs of women in our community, we need partners, we need volunteers, we need financial, support. So for our community of viewers, please check out Huronia Transition Homes website and see how you can partner with them. See how you can use your voice to change the experience and the outcomes for women in our community, right? Diverse women in our community. So I want to give you the last word, Amanda. If there is a woman who is watching today and she's experiencing abuse of any kind, what words of encouragement would you say to her? And can you please again just offer your website address and phone numbers so women know how to get in touch with you?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing that I would tell anybody who is experiencing abuse is to know that it's not your fault, to know that you don't have to blame yourself for it. It is not your fault at the end of the day. Is like the biggest that's the biggest internalized narrative that we see. And if you are looking for supports, if you're not looking for supports and you just want to call, if you just want a question to be asked, that's all okay. It's totally your life and it's at your own pace, but you can give us a call at the crisis line at 705-737-2008.
We do know that women carry the shame, the blame, the guilt of the abuse that they may be living in and experiencing. And to be able to lift that veil and to take that shame and that blame off of women in terms of the decisions that they've made to perhaps stay with their abuser, and to put the conversation and the focus on the abuser and ask the questions about why does he do what he did, right? And let's put our focus where it needs to be. So I appreciate that you have said that, and that women who are watching right now can hear you are not to blame for what you are experiencing. And you very articulately talked about all of the things, all of the systems that lead to a society that allows violence and abuse to continue. So thank you for that. Please participate in May the 4th, Take Back the Night. Take care, everyone. Thank you for being with us, and we will see you next time. Thank you again, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Yes, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.